Welcome to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast, providing business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs with the 3 INs: insights, inspirations, and intentional actions. Delivered through monologues and dialogues, we address topics like leadership, productivity, time management, work-life balance, and challenges like stress, conflict, mental health, and much more. Please do not hold back from suggesting specific topics and guests you would like on this podcast. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. And yes, this is one of those weeks where I have a guest on. And in the last few months, I've had guests from, not all around the world, but a number of different places. But I have never had a guest from China. So please welcome with me John from China, and I will hand it straight over to him to tell us a little bit about who he is and maybe why on earth he is in China.
Yeah, I'm in China right now. You've caught me at my production office, but I do travel around a lot. I am very I guess it's called nomadic, like I've lived out of a suitcase and I'd like jump around a lot, and I'm used to doing this for many years. So now the interest is the Asia market for my product, for my red light therapy product. So I'm going to be here at least until June, pushing the Asia market before I get back over to the East Coast. But yeah, I love China. I tell you, there's so much to learn here. There's every day is an adventure, and that's I think my personality. I like that. I like to challenge myself and explore new places. I have never been to Africa though, and I remember you did tell me that you've been to Africa, and that is a place I've yet to explore, and I'm very keen to. It's
Mm,
sounds like some wild stories, right? Mm.
definitely, in some ways, it's a very wild place. And I mean, I was there 35 years ago, and I don't know things have changed dramatically in in that time. Although certain things probably haven't. So I mean, I was lucky to spend 20 months and traveling through 30 countries in Africa. So I got to see the whole continent.
Amazing.
So definitely I can recommend that. But you don't look Chinese, so I guess that's not your origin.
No, no, I was born in India. My my parents followed a guru over to India. I was born in India. To be honest, I don't remember anything of India, because I was so young. But I do like Indian food. Like I was in Korea a couple of days ago for a launch for my company, and I was walking through Itaewon. It's like the popular area where all the tourists go. And I stopped at a restaurant. The reason was is because they had a picture of samosas. And I was like, oh, samosas. I love samosas. I grew up on these things. And I stopped and I ate samosas in Korea. Yeah, so I don't remember much, but I would so India, I was born. I'm Australian. I've got an Australian passport. My office is in Miami in the US. Probably spent most of my time boots on the ground in China and the US for manufacturing. So I've kind of Australia, I honestly haven't been back for quite a number of years. We have a very strong distribution partner. She's a very close friend of mine that very big into wellness. She's quite a personality there. So she covers the whole region. And usually when my folks want to see me, we like meet in Thailand or we go some place like some holiday place and catch up with each other.
Mm. Well, like nomadic, like that's exactly what you said to start with, and it sounds like that. United States,
Yeah,
Australia, China, and meeting
yeah.
other places in Asia. It was fantastic, fantastic. So we're here to talk about mental fitness, and of course we're here to hear some stories from you. But before we dive into to stories and relating that to mental fitness, I really like hearing from my guests what their take on mental fitness is because it's a relatively new term and there's no specific definition on what it means. So each of us can just make up our own definition what we want to make what we want to make out of it. So what do you hear in that term?
Mental fitness, I kind of see it as the defining fitness. You can be physically fit, but if you're not mentally fit, your physical fit either doesn't last long or it doesn't count for much. I would say the brain is the most important thing to keep healthy, to keep fit. So mental fitness is something that I see it as governing sort of your all your fitness in all the other areas of your life, your career, your relationships, your emotions and everything. It's all down to having a robust mental health for sure.
Hmm.
For absolutely doing global trade and being through all the ups and downs that I've been through, I would, if I could go back and tell my younger self what I should do in the gym, I would say you should meditate, you should focus on your mental fitness because there's storms coming, young son. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. And when those storms come, your physical fitness might not be much use. It's not that you shouldn't have it.
yes,
So
yes,
you're my kind of guy because this is what I've been saying for a long time. Physical fitness, it is fine, but mental
yes,
fitness is actually more important because
yeah,
it taps into every area of life, our relationships, our physical health, work situations, how we deal with stress, how we manage pressure
yeah,
situations. And the more mentally fit we are, actually, the more likely we are to be reasonably physically fit as well, because we
yes,
have that strength to go to the gym or go for a run and do what we need to do to be at least reasonably physically fit, because we know how important it is, and we have the mental fitness to actually do it, particularly in the days when we don't want to. But I have
yeah,
also seen a significant amount of people who are exceptionally physically fit, but that are not mentally fit. And
yeah.
that creates, as you just said, a whole set of problems there. So,
Yes, it's kind of like having a car. If you have, I follow F1 kind of casually. I used to be really into it, but always with F1, it's a combination of the driver, the team, and the car. All of these elements come together for them to, because it's such a powerful, fast car. It's so fast, right? There's so many little tiny issues a tiny break in the driver or a little malfunction in the engine can cost them the entire race, cost them millions. So really, like I'd say, when you ask a driver, they would say that they're like, it's never my issue, it's the car. Mental fitness is like the car. You need that car. But then the driver is important because he needs to drive the car. But really, when you've done everything like to your max, you've done all the train, all the mental conditioning of these drivers, they're all at their peak. It all comes down to the car. I would kind of see mental fitness as the car, and then the other elements, which are important, like being physically fit, relationships and all that. That's like team and driver. That's
mm,
kind of the
that-
I always F1 analogies. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, they're very useful in many ways. One other analogy with that is that you can't just be driving your Formula One car around the track forever. Like you have got
Mhm.
to come in and change the tires at the right
Yes.
point in time, which means you actually have to stop, which at some
Yes.
level is the last thing you want to do when you want to win a race. Why should I stop? But if you don't stop and pause, and I think that's again in our life as human beings. I see in my job as a coach, I see business people just running at 1,000 miles an hour, and they simply don't know how to stop. And the problem with that is that eventually they will be stopped. Like the Formula
Yes.
One car, if you don't stop and change the tires, eventually the car will stop because
Yes.
the,
The
the
cars
tires are going to fall
really
off. Like
traction.
they're going to, and
Yes.
then you're on the side of the track, and you're not getting anywhere. So we as human beings, we need to stop, and whether we do some yoga or some meditation or just go for a walk or a chill out, but we have got to stop. Just stopping and sleeping is
Yes.
obvious, but it's not enough. Yeah.
That's right. A
Mm,
hundred percent. That's
mm,
so true.
mm.
You get life is like an F1 race, I tell you. You can really learn a lot. You can really learn a lot.
Yeah, and you can get yourself into a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, that's right.
So maybe we would start there with a story or two from your life of where you did get into some kind of trouble or didn't achieve what you wanted to, not because you were stupid or didn't have the skills, but because at that time you were lacking the mental fitness to do what needed to be done, lacking the confidence, lacking the resilience of whatever it was to do that. And it can be a story from yesterday or a story from when you were a teenager or whenever. So tell us a
Yeah, I
story.
think yeah, I think in my early days I was very I had a lot of anxiety in a way that I wanted things to get done very quickly. I was not very patient.
Right.
And I wanted to make impact in the world, but I wanted to do it like very fast. And usually with good impact, with a strong product, with a strong brand, a strong company, it comes with a much more slower pace, with due diligence, attention to details. And I didn't want to, my mentally, I was not really interested in like being processed and going through doing the, crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's. I was not really interested in that. I wanted just magic to happen now, now, now. And I was I was into fitness a lot. So I got injured a lot. That's another story. But for business, I got into opening gyms, and I would just open a gym like I would open a door. I was just opening gyms right and left, and it was very not very processed. I wasn't really like going slow and being meticulous and really calculating things, developing a good relationship with my other partners, really making sure we were aligned. And I got into a situation with one particular gym where I couldn't afford to run the gym. I couldn't afford it. The bills were getting too high. So I wanted to shift the gym over to someone else who was interested in taking over it. And I said, pay the bills, you can have the gym. You just pay the bills and it's yours. Don't give me anything. And it ended up being like it's a very long story, but it ended up in court. It ended up as a case. And it was a really big lesson for me, really major lesson, because at the end of all of it, like the way that the guy took me to court was he left out a lot of documents, and he sued me, leaving out key information that by the time I was aware of the case, it was too late. It already passed the appeal stage. So I was given a heavy bill that I had to pay, which even though I tried to fight the case, I remember the lawyers, even the judge just saying like, I'm sorry, you just missed these dates. We know that you're in the right, but you just missed the date. You haven't followed this process, you know. And I got the bill that I had to pay was very substantial, especially at that age. And I just basically like I remember just sitting in my house and thinking like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I thought to myself like, okay, basically I earned this amount of money during the day. That's mine. That keeps me going. I need to now cut into my sleep time and I just need to grind harder and I need to create another whole set of income, to be able to pay this bill because I had to make these installments at these certain dates to keep the enforcement, judge and the police off me. And it was a really good lesson. And to this day, I'm very, very thankful for it. I'm extremely thankful for it. But I'll always remember that as because I said like if I borrow money from someone, I'm just creating another debt. That's another problem. I better just knuckle down, work extra hard, get some additional work or find some other projects to get involved with and just eat it for it was like about almost 2 years. I just had to eat it and bite down and grind hard and pay everything off. And then that was done. But those 2 years of my life really, but the interesting thing with that was after the end of everything was done, I thought to myself and I was like, that wasn't so hard. It really wasn't. It was, of course, mentally really stressful because this is the real deal. These court letters are real. This isn't just like, this is that there's serious consequences to not paying. There's jail time, etc. Right? But I thought to myself, I was like, wow, I'm capable of actually achieving quite a lot, provided I have the right motivation, right? And I was like, that's not really, I wasn't fair to myself that I was, I was sort of going along, not maximizing sort of my full potential. So it really taught me a good lesson that like a lot can be achieved provided that there was that right motivation. But I'll never forget that. When you have a big fee thrown at you, you have serious jail time, you have court letters and everything. And I wasn't really of the mentality that I have now, where I'm more calm, more processed. And usually when I approach a an obstacle or approach something serious, I don't really freak out now. Like I've already gone through all that, but I was freaking out. I was like, "This is the end of the world," crying to my mom. But it really taught me like there's a lot that each we're all capable of. It's just how you manage your stress, like he said,
Mm.
how you and that motivation. Sometimes that motivation, the universe gives you that motivation in a way you don't expect to help you learn that lesson.
Mm.
But that was yeah, that's one of many stories actually, if I'm honest. Yeah.
So, thank you, John, and that's a common theme for my guests. Again, because all the guests I've had on have all created reasonable levels of success and or achievements, and it always comes down to that is that they've been through so much hardship, so many
Yeah.
challenges. And that's the
Yeah.
difference again. That's one way we can grow our mental fitness is by ending up in the shit enough times, and not go down the drain. So we can end up in trouble and then give up, and then, that's no good. But if we can keep getting ourselves back up, that's one of the
Yeah.
best ways of growing our mental fitness. But it's a one we don't really want to do. We don't want to consciously, well, I'm going to go down the drain right now so I can learn some more stuff quicker. And generally, we don't
Yeah.
do it that way. It just sort of just appears. And I really appreciate what you said about the patience, that you didn't have the patience and you now learn to have that, because I think many people don't realize what patience actually takes, particularly for people who don't have much of it. It actually requires a very high level of mental fitness, because there is that pattern, fast, we're just going to do this fast, as you said, be a Formula One car, but don't stop and and change the tires. Just keep going,
Yeah.
until it stops. And for me personally, I'm the opposite. I have a staggering amount of patience, and that's also a problem because that makes
Mm.
me more procrastinate on things. Like it's like, oh yeah, yeah, we'll be fine. Yeah, tomorrow is, yeah, we don't need to hurry here. And then I use that as an excuse for not getting things done. Where for you, it's the other way around. So we are two completely different personalities, and both of us have had to learn. For me, not to procrastinate and just get things done. Like
Yeah.
stop being
Yeah.
patient, Mikhail, and do things. And for you, it was the other way around. And I
Yeah.
also really appreciate you sharing about your thankfulness for that loss, because you put it beautifully that after those couple of years, and you realized, wow, that actually wasn't too hard. I can do this. And as Tony Robbins says, there are two main drivers, pleasure and pain. And most of us will do more to avoid the pain than get the pleasure. So pain is a very powerful driver unless we go down the drain with it. And you didn't. Like
Yes.
you cried to
Yes.
mum and felt shit and sorry for yourself and all of that. But obviously
Yeah.
you got through it.
Yeah. And it's interesting how like in if you I've always had this sort of I guess you would call it like a bit of a sickness in a good way. Where I've always wanted to do big things. I never look at like a really nice car and say like, wow, I wish I had that car, or like some, penthouse in Manhattan and say, wow, I really wish I had that. I'm not really interested in that stuff. I find that very boring, but I have this aspiration of doing something very, very big and impacting, the world. I've always had this thing since a young kid.
Hmm.
But when you have that thing, you need to practice patience, you need to practice your stress management, but you can't like physically, I'm not really able to take my foot off the gas. You just have to get better at managing it. You just have to like you know, when you learn from things, you're like, wow, you know, I'll never make that mistake again. There still will come a point where I have to take some kind of risk, or else just it's just part of the it's just my nature, and it's just the nature of what I want to do. I want to do big things, so you got to take your risks,
Hmm.
and you just have to be conditioned for it. There's always still a chance things can blow up,
Hmm.
but you just have to like always be on the limit, on the edge a little bit, right?
Yeah,
You just
and like the car again, but coming back to the car, is that the faster the car goes, the more it's going to hurt if you
yeah,
crash. Yeah.
yes,
So many people I find, and I've done in my own life, it's just, well, I'm just gonna drive slowly because, then I will see obstacles and I can avoid obstacles and I will have less pain. And that is absolutely true. But then I ain't
yes,
gonna get to where I want to get to.
that's right.
So, we have to put our foot down and accelerate and go faster. And then we may bump into something and we might roll
Yeah,
the car or skid off and hurt ourselves. And
that's
again,
right.
then it's like, okay, do we brush ourselves off because we have the mental fitness to get back in the car, to get back on the horse? And
Yes, yeah,
and
exactly.
that's what it sounds like you have done. And as you said, you
Yeah.
have many stories. So if you got another quick story there about burning out the car and then getting back in it, feel free to share
Getting
that with
back
us.
in. Yeah, I was in for athlete, like one that's kind of very relevant to me in the story that I'm in, you know, the where I'm come now with the career is in light therapy, is the injuries I had as an athlete. And as an athlete, I was into rugby. I got severely injured. Then I moved to CrossFit for a little bit, and then I went into boxing. And during this time, there wasn't so much emphasis on recovery. This is before the big Wim Hof ice bath trend that has taken over, you know, before saunas, and saunas now are in every home almost. And red light therapy, of course, is huge now.
Mm,
But during that time, the as if you're competing, you're kind of thinking of yourself as this soldier. You know, this is part of this is part of the game, right? This is the part of the price that I pay. And you wear your injuries like battle scars. You wear them proudly, you know, and now this culture isn't nobody does this anymore. Like recovery is such an important element in competitive sports. No one listens to that guy anymore. You know, there's a guy, I don't know if you know a guy named David Goggins. David Goggins, he's this guy, like he's very famous, and he went and did the military training. He did it like a number of times. He really pushed his body and his whole, and he's a runner, and he's done like insane runs, and he's like been bleeding, you know, while he's running, and his leg's been busted, and he still keeps running. And he has this phrase, "Stay hard." And he during that time as I was an athlete, he was sort of the icon. Like that's the guy. He's the savage. You know, he's the ultimate savage in the world. He just pushes himself, you know, to the brink of death. Whereas now everyone's like, no, that's crazy. You just, you know, there's simple recovery protocols you can do. Everyone knows how to track their sleep. Everyone knows or has access to an ice bath, a sauna, compression, red light, you know, oxygen treatment. Everyone has access to this and knows enough about it that everyone doesn't. The whole stay hard culture is kind of like well and done.
mm,
But being an athlete during that time, I really pushed myself. Like and I think like if I feel or look older than I am, I think it's all from that period of time in my life when I was an athlete. Like I did a test. I think it was in Dallas. I did this test where you can test your biological age. Like it gives you a reading on your biological age. And I was like 10 years older than I was. And I was like, come on, that's crazy. And they said, well, yeah, you could do some additional tests to get a more accurate number. But yeah, you're much older than you actually are. And I blamed my attitude of how I was in that during that time. But I got basically the injury that really broke me was my left knee. and it happened during rugby. Even though I had both my shoulders pop out in rugby, those injuries I was able to rehab over a number of months, but my knee was always a funny one that didn't quite recover. And boxing, I had to stop boxing because I got a tumor in my head from from getting hit in the head so many times. But after that surgery, that's in for the tumor, that's kind of where I made the shift. I would say that was the moment
Mm.
when my mental fitness took over. You know, and I was like, I took a more slow, calculated approach,
Mm.
and I was more processed, and I was more calm, and I would sort of not only go into business being wiser, but just in my daily life, in relationships, and how I would treat people. My empathy got much more higher than, I wasn't, as reckless as I was before. But
Mm.
the left knee issue was the one that I got healed with light therapy, and that started my whole journey into light therapy. And
Mm.
in medical and in wellness, like if you're pushing a product and your vision is to help the world heal through light therapy, you can't be this like stay hard attitude. Come on, you'll be fine. You can't, it doesn't work, right? It's
Mm.
more about like you having in your heart the strong desire to heal the world, and and going with with whatever happens, right? And being very, always learning, very humble, and not trying to push or shove things down people's throats, but trying to educate and encourage
Mm.
and be more of a support,
Mm.
right? That's kind of the mentality you need to have. So that those injuries, though at the time I was like, this is the end of the world. I'm never going to compete again. Like, oh, that's my dream. Like for boxing, I had this idea of being a heavyweight champion, of holding the belt above my head. Yes. And you kind of have to see like, oh, that was that time. That was my aspirations. And then that big fall, that fall from grace.
Mm.
The tribulation led into a triumph, led into another mission, another goal, but with more mental fortitude to be able to
Yeah.
take that on.
Mm.
So again, I'm very thankful for that as well. It's
Mm.
something you have to be thankful for.
You don't have to, but it's a good idea.
Yes, yeah,
Mm.
that's right.
And,
I
and, and
always saw like being grateful for the like when stuff happens, being grateful was a way in which you can get closure, or like you can close the book on that and win. You can win against, this big obstacle that came into your life. You can, in a sense, conquer it fully by reformatting your brain and being thankful for it. It like you defeat it. You defeat that negative part of your life. You finally conquer it by switching and being thankful for it. That's
mm.
how I saw it. I saw it as like a hack. Yeah.
Mm. 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 And I guess there's a good reason that gratitude is a part of almost like every spiritual kind of practice I know of, whether it's meditation practices or Christians or most other things. There's always a very high level of focus on gratitude. And my wife and I, we have a ritual we do every night at the dinner table, is we have to share three gratitudes from the day. And one of
Yes.
them have to have something to do with the partner. So on days when you're not on good terms with your wife and you still have to share something you're grateful for, it's a it's a good one, not necessarily a pleasant one, but it's
That's
a
a
good
good
one.
one.
And then I love your idea or your thought that of healing the world. And in my experience, that the people who seems to do the best at that are those people who have had to heal themselves, not those who learned how to heal in some institution or a university or they read all the books and they know how to do it. The
Yeah.
most successful people in that field appears to me to mostly be those who have gone through that yourself. And I mean, I'm from Denmark. We don't do rugby. I had no idea rugby existed. We do soccer. So when I came here to New Zealand 34, 5 years ago, and New Zealand, mostly seems to be the world champions in rugby. And then I thought,
Yes.
what are these guys doing? And we had to sit down with the family and watch the game on TV, and everybody's jumping up and down. I'm sitting there going, what the hell are they doing? That's insane. They are just running into each other all the time. There's blood all over the place. You gotta be kidding me. So you,
Yes.
you pick that and then you pick boxing. I mean, you asked for it, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. 100%. Yeah, the All Blacks in New Zealand, they're still like them in South Africa, they're the best in the world. And it's in their blood. I think I met like the under 18s national team for New Zealand. And I think no, I met the under 18s women's team for New Zealand. I met the under 18 female side, and those girls were picking me up and just throwing me around like a doll. Like they can they're so good. They're so good. Like they I remember the girl just picking me up, and I was like, whoa, geez, how old are you?
What a what a cool experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
So wicked sport, but again, with most sports, once you really know what's going on, then you can enjoy it. Same they tried to teach me how cricket works because we don't have that in Denmark either. And the two main
yeah,
sports in New Zealand seems to be cricket and rugby. So
yeah.
that was my first initiation into New Zealand, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And I still haven't figured it out, so that's okay. Everybody knows, so they leave me alone.
Yeah,
So,
you got to learn
Greg,
cricket.
tell us some other stories from your life again. They could be from yesterday or from today or from years back in your life where
Taking
the
risks.
mental fitness was there. Like it wasn't easy, but you managed to pull something off that was really difficult. And you have alluded to it already. Maybe find some other couple of stories there that really gives us that sense of mental fitness. Uh,
Yeah. It just seems like they're normal stories now. They don't really seem significant, but it's always like it with I remember some guy, I think his name is Alex Hormozy. I
yes.
think he's online somewhere.
Yeah.
But he
Very
always
famous.
said, yeah, you build data. You build all of the such a resume of times in which you've taken risks. It's worked or it hasn't worked, doesn't matter. You keep taking risks, and then it worked, it maybe then didn't work. It's like you just build a lot of data of experience that you realize that the world keeps spinning. That doesn't really you can make the decision to get stressed about it, or you can just move on and go on to go about your day and keep pushing. And once you've done that so many times, that just becomes your new normal. It just becomes that's your standard operating system. And all like I had a oh, it's funny. I had a partner ask me about a certificate for my product. And a week ago, she says, "Hey, John, like, because we need this certificate in order to go onto live TV." And I kind of roughly knew that we would get it in a certain amount of time, but you never know with these things. When you apply for a report, you get a medical report. You never really know. Something could easily go wrong, or they could just be delayed. It's all down to like the medical body and the papers that they have on their desk and which ones they decide to process first. Oh, my day's done. I'm going to handle those tomorrow. They get there tomorrow, and there's a new stack of papers. So wherever it is that you're listed, that's just how it is, right? Money can only do so much, right? You can't you apply for it, you pay the fee, but still there's a stack of papers. And I told her we had like a date for launching, and I said, don't worry, like we'll be fine. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, if we don't get it, I'll just say sorry. I'll just say sorry. Oh, like, and I have this. It doesn't work every time, but I have this sort of philosophy, the philosophy of it's easier to say sorry than ask for permission. This sort of I I kind of I do this quite a lot. I'm just really good at saying sorry. I'm just like, it's a struggle, but hey, tomorrow's another day. Let's keep going. That's just mean. That's my normal operating system. It's like, don't worry, the sun's still gonna shine. We still can keep going. And she asked me, my partner asked me, she goes, she goes, how confident are we that we're gonna get this certificate? And I replied saying, I'm always confident. And she like laughed. She was like, ha ha ha. It's like, John, this deadline, like we need this report. And sure enough, it came like 4 days early. It came 4 days early. So, hey, you know what? I manifested it. I manifested it. So but that's just a normal thing. Like it's if you want to, if you want to do things sort of on a certain scale, you can't always go by the book. I think that is definitely a rule. And if you have to have the mental fortitude to understand that, to manage it. Don't be too reckless, but also understand that that's just how things are done. You always have to look for little loopholes and you sort of have to squeeze through obstacles. You can't just wait for them to fall down and everything to be easy.
Mm.
And you very much have to, you very much need to have this sort of nature. I regularly get asked, people asking for info. Oh yeah, I get asked this a lot from people in photobiomodulation, in medical, in wellness, all around the world. They ask like, they say, "Oh no, do you need me to sign an NDA?" And I'm always like, "No, I don't." Like, what's like you this process of signing an NDA? I'm like, it doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I don't like. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like, I'll take the risk, right? Because I kind of know like that I don't feel like I'm at risk, and if I am, I'll take those. I'll address that later. Maybe it's smart, but maybe it isn't. But over the whole time, a lot of these corporate processes at the end are just formalities that delay time, and at the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing: is your product, your service, or something going to be copied? Are they going to take your idea? This is the big scare in anything in manufacturing. The big scare. Oh, am I going to be copied? I had a guy call me. He's doing a product in a factory here, and he called me from, I think it's Pennsylvania or somewhere. And he's like, "Can I get on a call with you?" I don't even know this guy. He like hits me up on Instagram. I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Oh, and basically he's cautious of working with a factory." And I said, "Oh, you're gonna come over. You're gonna see." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll come over, but I'm worried about it being copied. And what's your thoughts on this? Products being copied?" And I was like, well, at the end of the day, the way, like, this is a worry that we had like 10, 20 years ago. But now when you have a product, you patent it, you're all protected. You only have a certain amount of time. If it is successful, it's going to be copied. Maybe not 100%. Maybe they're going to, but you're going to have competitors. Just accept that. You're not going to get this free ride to where like, I'm the only one with this product, you got to buy my product. It's no. If it's successful, it's going to be copied. Just accept it. And what your challenge is to build your brand, build your IP, use your face, your image, your whatever to secure the value of the brand. And then if it's copied, don't worry about it. Just talk about the fact that they're the copy, you're the original. That make that your story. Like I think they did a survey when Gucci launched in China and all Gucci started to get copied right and left. And it actually increased the sales of Gucci because no one wants to be the person with a copy of Gucci because the conversation is, you have a Gucci. Is it real? That's the conversation. Is it real? And everyone goes, are they going to show their Gucci bag and then say, oh, it's fake? You're out. No one wants that. No one wants that identity of, oh, I bought the fake. Nobody wants that. People go, oh, I'll just pay for the original. If I'm buying into this brand, I want to then say with confidence, I want to, have this prowess. I have the original, and this is something that I think when you have a lot of challenges in business and you have a lot of these things thrown at you, you start to see things in a different way, and you really don't fuss about those insignificant things. My vision is to build a strong brand, and then to keep my product development always running. So if you want to copy it, go for it. Please copy it. You're only promoting me as the original. You're only going to increase the amount of, attention on me because I'm going to be the original.
Mm.
And and I'm shocked that in the US, like the call that I had with the guy, he was like, wow, this is such a great way to think. Like, yeah. And he like wants to work with me. But I'm like, all right, you'll be. But it's a very simple way of thinking. It's just thinking outside the box that really gives you a whole nother enthusiasm of taking on a challenge, of progressing and not being so worried about like the itty-gritty things. Focus on the big problems. Get really down to detail on those. The all the paperwork in that. I have a lot of friends in wellness that are just running through legal battles again and again and again. And they're like, yeah, now I'm suing this guy. Now I'm suing this guy. And I'm like, well, you're not, whatever it is that you're doing, you're not making the thing that you want to share to the world. All
Mm.
your attention now is like on suing this guy that copied a little small fraction of what your company is, right? It's a waste. Just keep going. Just keep, don't focus on that.
Mm.
That's my anyway.
Yeah,
Don't take this business advice.
yeah, and thank you for sharing that, John, because I think that there's definitely truth in that. Like I don't have a physical product, I have a service. And and
Yes,
and again, it is my job just to deliver that service to my clients the best way I can. And other people
yes,
might listen in on something or see something, so I'm going to pick up some of that. I'm going to try doing something, but they can never completely copy what I do. You have
yes,
to make it your own, and then
yeah,
focus on that. So you made your thing your own, and again, that also takes mental fitness to stick to what it is you believe in. It also takes mental fitness to stop trying to take other people down, like whether suing this person, that person, as you say. That
yeah,
also takes that mental. I like the way you're putting it. Actually, mental fortitude. I haven't thought about the term that way. But you said that a couple of times. I like that. And
yeah.
um, absolutely. I remember when I was traveling back in Africa and Asia, but it's still here today. You got the Ray-Ban. Everybody know Ray-Bans, but you could buy them in Bangkok, and they will have Bayran or Ray-Fan. Like they will use the same, so they all look the same. So when people look at a distance, they thought you were wearing Ray-Bans. But if you get close up enough, none of them were,
Yes,
So
yes,
the thing is
yes.
is real or is it not real? So
That's right.
fantastic. Thank you for that story, John. Really appreciate that. So um, I just want to dip into the next question, which is around, how you grew your mental fitness, and in a roundabout way, you've already shared that in some of your stories. That often it was through some experiences you had or some knocks you had that then turned out to make you a stronger person. Can you think of anything in your life that you've done where you actually consciously decided that I'm going to grow my mental strength and went to a course or read a book or went to a coach or like in any shape or form that you may not, but if you have, I would love to hear that.
Okay, yeah, growing mental fitness. Like what springs to mind is meditation. I think that's
Mm,
how you exercise your mental fitness. I think that's kind of like going to the gym for your brain.
yes.
Um, I think that's the best practice you can do. I think most very, very highly successful people, when you ask them, they say they do practice some form of meditation. And I started doing I don't do meditation in the sense like I sit in a room and I have like special sounds or incense or go real yogi
Mm,
style. I just I sort of I'm still. I close my eyes and I focus on a point in my eyes. I focus on a point in my closed eyes, and I mantra something. I mantra something like gratitude is a big thing that changes your mental state.
mhm.
So gratitude is. I remember I was on a panel in Miami at an event, and the guy on the panel he called it like vitamin G. And he was like, we all need some vitamin G. And I was like, that's G. I love that, you know? vitamin G, you need to have that gratitude because it can kind of like it's like a superpower,
Hmm.
you can use. So if you just what I do, and I started doing this like a couple months back, especially for before bed, but anytime like I just need a pause, you can just sit and close your eyes. I just say, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. So when I say I'm grateful, I try to take on the state of being grateful,
Yes.
not just saying it,
Mm.
but I try to like actually feel it in my heart. And as I'm saying it, I'm working on creating the state.
Mm.
Because if you sort of just try to be in the state of gratefulness, you can be distracted. At least for me, I get distracted. But if I'm saying I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I start to then the state starts to come and it then becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And I do this and then I do there's a couple other mantras that I do similar to that, like that are in the about gratefulness, about abundance, about being thankful. And that's a practice definitely I actively started doing. Yeah, it's only been a few months. I would say it's just in the last 4 or 5 months that I've started doing this and it's to the point where it's like second nature. Like I feel a day that I don't do it. Like if I don't do it, I'm like, wow, I haven't done that. And like I feel like if I miss a day.
Hmm.
So it's a habit now. Um, I was trying to get my mom into this uh because my mom's very is not spiritual at all. She's like, no. And I said, like, don't worry about this idea. Just think of it as going to the gym for your brain.
Yeah.
It just helps you like get focused a bit. And then hopefully, I think I would like to kind of like, get deeper into this practice in some way, which is why like I'm going to this yoga retreat. I think yoga might be another way I could level up on this practice. But it suits me because it's kind of goes along with my life. I don't always have like a morning protocol where I wake up and I do this, then at this I do this and this, and I don't have this, I don't always have this morning protocol. I kind of like have a way I like to start my day. I have my red light therapy, I do my cold shower, or if I'm in an office, usually most of the offices that I have, they have an ice bath. So I do an ice bath, a little bit of gratitude, and then I'm in my day, right?
Mm.
But I kind of have a rough sort of thing. I don't, when you have people say like, I never start my day without doing this checklist. And it's like, it kind of becomes a trip. It kind of becomes like an ego thing, whereas I think it's more, it's just more about having the right mentality, having the right mental fitness
Mm.
to kick your day, starting your day with a mental exercise versus like a physical exercise, like push-ups and
Mm.
sit up.
Mhm.
I kind of I get a lot of benefit from that
Yeah.
practice. That's my thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for that, John. And I think really in my experience, because I encourage all my clients to have some kind of a morning routine or ritual. It can be a short couple of minutes, or it could be as long as they want. But what I really make really clear is that it have to be something that works for you. And when it
Yes.
stops working, replace it with something else. So some
Yeah.
people need more structure. As I'm going to do this for 2 minutes, this way I'm going to do that. And other people like you are more like, yeah, I'll just see what feels right in the moment. And either way for me is fine as long as it works for you.
Yes.
That's the key, I think. And vitamin G, yeah, why not? And and pause is another big one for me. You mentioned that it's again stopping that race car, Formula One car, and getting those tires changed. That just it can happen at any time in the day. It can be
Yeah.
you're stepping into the car, getting into the traffic, and before you do that, you just pause, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, put a little smile on your face, which is another way
Yeah.
of showing gratitude without saying it, but just okay, it doesn't have to be a big grin, but just a gentle smile. Like it's a meditation practice actually called the inner smile, where you just imagine that inner smile, and that creates that same feeling and texture of the feeling of gratitude. And then you open your eyes and you drive your car, and you're less likely to start giving people the finger that are not driving properly. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. I can't change it. So I'm just going to enjoy the ride. I'm not going to let any bastard ruin my drive. Just
Yeah.
as an example. And we can put those pauses in throughout the day. You're in the office, you can put that in. If nobody's looking at it, you can just sit there in front of the computer and just close your eyes for a moment. And 30 seconds is enough. So I invented what I call modern meditation a number of years ago, and I started calling it meditation snacking. Because I've done not all, I've done a lot, thousands of hours of sitting cross-legged on freaking cushions with pain in my knee and meditating. And I'm glad I did because it taught me something and it allowed me to learn something really fast because of the intensity of it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't done that for decades, but I do a lot of meditation snacking on a daily basis. I do it while I'm driving. I can do meditation snacking. I do it while I'm cooking. I can do it while I'm sitting here talking with you. And it just
Yeah.
allows my body and my nervous system to stay in a calm way even when I have to perform, whether it's on a podcast or whether it's in my coaching session. So thank you for putting all those out.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for mentioning the gym, your mental fitness gym, because that's something I'm pushing really hard. There are plenty of gyms to go to for your physical fitness, but where do you go for your mental fitness? Ah,
That's
yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
that could be meditation. It can be like a yoga retreat. It can be yoga. It is a place to grow our mental fitness. So thank you so much, John. Is there one last thing you would like to share with our audience? A tool you can recommend, a book you can recommend, or any wise words from your life experience?
Yeah, I've not books and stuff and resource. It's kind of each to their own.
Mm,
I've like I got very meditative in bodybuilding, surprisingly enough. And bodybuilding, the reason for that is because you diet and you want to kind of calculate your calories in, calories out. So during my competition, I wasn't rushing around and like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this. I was very slow because I didn't want to get injured. I'm cutting, I'm getting ready for a show, so I need to move slowly. And then I kind of got into this meditative state, doing bodybuilding because you only want to expend energy when you're using it to help with your competition. And you only want to intake energy when you're using it for your competition. So you're very conservative.
mm,
So I sort of went around, as a monk almost. I was very slow to sit down. People were like, "Oh, it's time to go," and I'd be like, "Okay," and I'd slowly get up, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. So I got like very meditative in bodybuilding, and that's just me. I wouldn't like recommend anybody to get into bodybuilding for meditation. So I kind of see it as each to their own, but definitely I would say um, the importance of mental fitness is more and more paramount because just the way that the world is now. There's a guy that people interested, you could look up Chase Hughes, this guy on YouTube, and he talks a lot about the brain and how our brains work, how social media is like, it's almost like a toxin, for our brain. It
mhm,
destroys your mental fitness. And when you start seeing how, there's all these things happening in the world which are very negative, very violent, and your mood's going up and down and up and down. You just saying like there's gyms everywhere, but there's not really like these mental gyms
mm,
anywhere. And just the way that we are in the world right now, the need for good mental fitness, mental training
mm,
is is on the absolute rise. And it's nothing to do with like, not judging anyone or anything like that and saying, oh, you're weak, you're mentally, incapable. It's just that there's a lot of things against us mentally now. The way the world is behaving, the way social media is behaving, the way our sort of our processing is becoming accelerated, our attention span,
mm,
shortening. Just all of this is happening to us in the digital age.
mm,
And it's like a big wave, and we're not used to it. We're not conditioned for this as humans. We're
mm.
not. So it's definitely something that imagine 10 years in the future, there'll be
Yeah.
mental gyms everywhere.
Yeah. And thank you for pointing that out. And I think that's really important is that because the tension in the world is
Yeah.
increasing for a number of different reasons. And I did a podcast episode about a month ago that got a lot of traction, where I said the biggest problem with AI is not the job losses and the loss of income and people having to refine what they're going to do with their lives in a very short period of time. The biggest problem we're going to have is the mental health issues, because people are going to lose their identity. People who are identified with a job situation or a position that AI is going to take over, they can go and get another job, but their identity, so
Yeah.
stress levels are going to go up, possibly suicides are going to go up, increased use of unhealthy things is going to go up. And that's going to
Yeah.
create, I believe, quite a significant challenge, a mental challenge. So now is a really good time to really do something about growing your mental fitness if you haven't consciously done that before. And I just really want to
Yeah.
thank you, John, for all the different examples you have given us here today. And I will finish with one of the ones you just shared. You mentioned the word slow. I'm gonna say slow up. Slow up
Yeah.
a bit. Now, when you get out of the
Yeah.
chair, just try and get up slowly. Like because it does something to you, it does something to your mind. My first and I don't
Yes.
recommend for people getting into meditation the way I did. It was completely insane. But my first meditation experience was a 10-day silent Vipassana retreat with 14 hours of meditation a day, led by a Burmese monk that couldn't speak English very much. I am so grateful I did that, but it was unbelievably painful. And one thing we had to do 1 hour of sitting, 1 hour slow walking, 1 hour sitting, 1 hour, and I've never sat cross-legged on a cushion before. My knees were in so much pain that for those 10 days. But I learned to because you had to walk slowly, but you were not allowed to stop, but you had to keep moving. And I got to a place by the end of those 10 days where I could cover a distance of just about 20 meters in an hour without stopping. And
Wow.
I'm not suggesting for people to go that crazy, but it taught me and it really taught me something amazing about life and about myself of slowing down. And I'm not going to suggest people slow down to that level. You will never get to your car. You will never get to work that way. But try and practice, just slow
Yes.
up a little bit. It might just be, you know, when you're having your next meal after you watch this and you are sticking something in your mouth, just try and move it to your mouth slowly. And just
Yes.
one or two, but just
I
just do
see.
that and notice what it actually does to you and what it brings up. And then when you actually eat it slowly. And you'll be
Yes.
amazed at how much flavor there is if you
Yes.
do it slowly. So that's my invitation based on what you shared,
I
slow
love
up.
that.
So
Yes.
thank you so much for coming on here today. I really enjoyed our conversation. There's so many gems in there for our audience. So thank you to our audience for joining us today, and thank you so
Yeah.
much, John, for joining us from China today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Let's slow up. That's my task today.
Excellent. Thank you. Till next
Thank
time.
you. Till next time.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. If you have stories of how mental fitness has benefited you that you are happy to share, go to my website, mikal.nz, click on podcast and fill in the guest application form. If you want direct support from me utilizing my 40 years of mental fitness learning and practice, email me at coach@mikal.nz or message me on LinkedIn. Any feedback, review, share, follow, like, or any other good stuff is, of course, appreciated. Thank you for listening to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast. I'm your host, Mikal Nielsen.